Hey everybody, I'm Severely Mame, and today I wanted to take you on a little project journey with me. What I'm working on today is I'm resizing this 1940s A-line skirt. In my last video, I talked about there's 7 staples in my closet cut-wise for wearing a vintage wardrobe. One of them is the classic A-line skirt. The one I showed you guys was a permanent pleat A-line, but I decided I wanted to make something a little more standard. That one was a pattern and had the permanent pleat. I decided I wanted to just make a single color A-line skirt from this 40s pattern. When I had bought it, I had a 30-inch waist, but I do not anymore. So I'm going to have to resize it to be my current size, and I thought I'd take you guys along with me. How I'm going to do that is first, I'm going to get all of my pattern pieces situated, figure out which ones I need to make this skirt, and then I'm going to bring them over to the iron. Now I'm going to iron these pieces because they have been folded in this envelope for who knows how long, and since I want to get pretty exact copies traced of them, what I'm going to do is iron out all the wrinkles. I put it on a low heat setting and ironed it just onto a towel. In this case, it would have been great to have an ironing board, which I don't right now for some reason, but I'm working with what I've got. We all do the same. So I'm going to go through and just iron all of my pieces. There's only 3 that I need for this pattern. There is a skirt front, a skirt back, and a waistband. Now that I've ironed out the pattern pieces, I am going to get out, I have a big roll of butcher paper that I use for pattern making. If you don't have that, you can use a roll of wrapping paper, you can use whatever large paper that you have around, and I'm putting all of my pattern pieces down. Now to make a 30-inch skirt waist, a 34, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch to each seam on the skirt. There's 4 skirt panels, adding 1 inch per seam total is 34 inches. So the 2 pattern pieces, I'm going to lay down, copy them both, and then add 1/2 inch to each side. I'm gonna be honest, I think I did a terrible job describing it in the intro, but I'll walk you through it a little bit more here. So I used books to weigh down my pattern pieces just so they're nice and flat, and I don't have pattern weights, but also books work on paper patterns really easily, especially while I'm just going from paper to paper. So I'm tracing the entire outline of the pattern and going around and marking all of the notches and darts, things like that. I'll also go on to mark the grain line of the fabric. So all I'm going to have to do after I trace these and have all of the marks ready is I'm just adding 1/2 inch to each side seam in this pattern piece. So there's 2 pattern pieces, 2 fronts and 2 backs. I will be adding 1/2 inch to each side, meaning I'm adding 1 inch to each pattern piece as a whole, which will translate to 4 added inches. I don't know if I'm actually explaining this in a helpful way, but I can confirm this does work. I just am not always great at explaining exactly how I'm doing it. I don't need to add anything to the length of this because it is still going to hit the 28-inch skirt length that I like to wear. But if I did, I would have just added it to the rounded bottom, keeping the same curved edge, which anyone can do if they're doing a similar alteration like this. Like I had mentioned, I'm transferring all of the notches out to the new edge, just so pieces will still line up. But really, this is a fairly simple pattern resize. I'm not doing anything too crazy here, just using my clear ruler to go around and add that 1/2 inch that's needed to upsize it from a 30 to a 34-inch waist. This all was pretty simple. Remember when you get to the corners that you want right angles, so that way when the fabric meets the piece it's being sewn to, there is a straight edge at the bottom and it doesn't like curve up or down where it's not supposed to. Now that I've added the 1/2 inch to each side, I'm going to add a total of 4 inches to this waistband piece. It's fairly simple. I'm just adding 2 inches to each side and then transferring all of the marks. Sorry, I did not realize that my camera was not capturing the majority of this, but a waistband piece is just a rectangle. So what I did was I traced the original shape of the waistband for length and height. I did not transfer any of the notches from this because I knew that none of them would particularly match up with the waist as it's done now. But as I mentioned before, I'm adding 2 inches to each side of the waistband for the 4 inches that I added to the skirt as a whole. Then once I moved those, I did move the markings for where the buttons and buttonholes would go. But that was one issue I ran into that I'll get to later. And now that I've finished doing that, I'm going to cut all of these out, which I'm going to spare you from watching because it was just me struggling on the floor as usual when it comes to cutting. I've cut all the pieces out and now I want to double check them. I want to make sure that they're all going to kind of match up in the way that they should and that the waistband is long enough. Because I often run into issues with the waistband not being the correct size. And now with that, it's really that simple. All I needed to do was add 4 inches to this skirt, and it was very easy because it was just a simple A-line skirt. Now, other skirts may be much harder, but you can always figure out how much you need to add, how many pattern pieces there are, and how many pieces to the garment, and figure out what needed to be added. If I wanted to add 6 inches to the waist, I would have added 3/4 of an inch to the edge of each pattern piece. I didn't need to change the length here, but if I did, I would have added it to the bottom. But all in all, I think that this was a really simple thing and that everybody could follow along. If you have a pattern in your stash that's either A-line, pencil skirt, you can easily add to it by doing the same thing. Now, I did start sewing the skirt already, and I can confirm that it works. I ran into a little bit of an issue. I was trying to fit it into this video, but I've actually filmed this all today, and it's going up today. So I have a little bit of an issue with it right now, but it's looking really good. I used a rayon fabric for it, so it's going to be lightweight and have some nice movement and be nice and cool for summer, and be another black skirt in my collection. Now, with that, let me know down below if you have any questions about what I did here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Hit the bell button to get notified every time I post. If you really like what I'm doing here, make sure to follow the link below to my Patreon. There you can get exclusive photo and video that doesn't make it to any other social media, all while helping me create content just like this. Now, I'm Severely Mame, and I'll see you very soon. bye.